So what is Broc doing now? A champion for transparency? Today on realtransparentdisclosure.com. I'm Broc Romanak and I'm a big fan of yous. So my final chapter perhaps, and my most important, I am taking up the mantle to facilitate a lively conversation around transparency. Transparency is the lifeblood of Labrador, and they have hired me in an independent capacity to further their mission. And in turn, I want to heed the siren that I've heard throughout my career and serve as a champion for transparent disclosure. So the first question you might have is, what is transparent disclosure anyway? Providing education about what transparency means is a key part of serving as a champion, helping to define in our space what it means and what it doesn't mean. So part of my journey will be assisting in that endeavor. I can tell you for starters that transparency means something that is far more than plain English, far more than disclosure advisory services. It's about clearly communicating through corporate disclosure what companies want the public to know and what investors and other stakeholders care about the most. And I can tell you that transparency doesn't necessarily mean that you need to disclose everything. It does not change the definition of materiality. It doesn't change what the regulations require and what they don't require. More on all this real soon on realtransparentdisclosure.com. You want to go ahead and input your email address so that you can get the blogs from that site pushed out to you. So over the span of my career, corporate disclosure has come a long way to becoming more transparent, partially prodded along by more extensive regulation, by the policies of proxy advisors and investors, and by better intentioned draftspersons like yourself. But it's time to take all of this a step further by applying best practices and by applying data analytics to establish transparency as the critical link that builds trust between companies and the end users of corporate disclosures, the readers, to establish universal standards to build trust. Trust is good for business. It creates real value. So how will I be serving as a champion for transparent disclosure? I hope to build interest in transparent disclosure in a number of ways. First is the educational piece through the realtransparentdisclosure.com blog and in other forms of communication. Practical guidance to help all of us become more familiar about how to build trust and transparency. Second is by heading up a transparency scientific committee comprised of well-respected members of our field that believe in this mission that will help set transparency standards and apply them to the corporate disclosures to help evaluate the progress that we all make. Third is by overseeing the selection of winners of the annual Transparency Awards. The Transparency Awards have been a big deal in Europe for a number of years. CEOs attend the event, senior members and the institutional investors attend the event. These European awards are also run by an independent scientific committee, even though Labrador is the agency that came up with the idea. The same concept applies here in the United States now. Just because the Transparency Awards are the brainchild of Labrador, that doesn't mean that their clients will necessarily win the awards. Labrador is a true believer in transparency and trust. That true belief extends to ensuring that the Transparency Awards is a completely independent phenomenon. I will see to that. So will the other members of the Transparency Scientific Committee. So more to come soon in the blog as I drill down further into all of these propositions. Make sure you subscribe to the blog, realtransparentdisclosure.com, which is free, so that you can get an email pushed to you when a new entry is posted. Not only will I be blogging about what is transparent disclosure, including the various criteria that you can use to help you draft disclosure to draft it so that it's transparent, I will be providing a lot of practical guidance. Practical guidance is my middle name, including what are good examples of recent disclosures? What are the latest disclosure trends, i.e. what are we seeing? What are the best ways to approach the drafting process? And much more about the topics and challenges that we all commonly face, but actually are rarely addressed in the many newsletters and blogs out there. Can you hear my excitement, the passion in my voice about being a transparency champion? I can barely contain my excitement. That is the truth. That is my truth.